The UK could find itself having to offer an effective amnesty for illegal immigrants because of the backlog of asylum and immigration cases. That's according to a group of British parliamentarians who've just published a new report on the second quarter of 2012. MPs say the backlog by the UK border agency is spiralling out of control. The report has found the number of outstanding cases, both immigration and asylum, rose by 25,000 in 3 months. By the end of June, more than 300,000 cases still needed to be dealt with. That's almost the same as Iceland's population. And more than 50% of these are known as are in the migration refusal pool, those who've been refused permission to stay in the UK, but whose whereabouts are unknown. Well, Keith Best is the Director of Freedom from Torture and the former Chief Executive of the Immigration Advisory Service. He joins us now in the studio. Thanks very much for being here.
Pleasure.
So just on that migration refusal pool, as it's known, 174,000 cases of people, and people don't know where they are. It seems extraordinary.
No, because these are probably people who come in as on particular categories of immigration, as visitors or such like, and then have overstayed, and people lose track of them. They don't renew their visa, so the authorities know that they're in the country illegally, or at least they're not sure whether they're in the country or gone. There's also another section called the Controlled Archive, about 80,000, and these are people that the border agents just lost contact with, and every now and then somebody gets in touch with them and says, but look, I've got a letter from you with a reference number, and so then they actually turn that into an active case.
So how has it got so bad? I mean, it seems that the figures have risen by 25,000 in the last 3 months, and this is, I mean, every government says it wants to tackle immigration, but this one also said it wanted to get tough on immigration. So what's going wrong here?
Well, what's going wrong is, I'm afraid, a lack of resources going into dealing with this sort of thing, and also I think, and I meet the officials who are dealing with these cases, I mean, they feel overwhelmed at the whole mass of it. But I think, you know, we can talk about the statistics, but of course what they hide is the human misery, the stories behind those statistics. And you can imagine if you're a torture survivor and you're in a kind of limbo with the border agency not dealing with your case, you're living for years sometimes terrified as to whether you're going to be sent back to face the torturers for a second time.
So, I mean, is it the situation at the moment, as far as you're aware, that a lot of people are here who shouldn't be here, and then the people who should be allowed to stay end up being sent back to places where they could be tortured?
We think, and there's no means of telling, of course, by definition, that those in the controlled archive are people who've either already left the country or they are still people in the country awaiting a determination on their asylum claim. And the majority of those in the controlled archive are asylum cases. They're not general immigration cases.
So this suggestion, I mean, the government has denied that there's going to be an effective amnesty, but do you think that actually that is what is going to have to happen in order to try to get to the bottom of all this?
Well, I think what Mark Harper, the Minister, said very clearly earlier was that if they then do discover somebody, then they will put them through the proper process. But it's a very good report because it's very wide-ranging. I mean, it deals, for example, with the inappropriateness of torture survivors being put into detention, and that's still happening, even though the government says it shouldn't happen. I mean, something that we've been very much involved with, for example, that the Home Affairs Committee is concerned about, is the fact that people who should be getting protection here are denied it. They then get sent back to countries which torture them. They then manage to escape and come back here, and then they're given the protection which they should have been given in the first place. Now that is actually scandalous, and it's all about the quality of the initial decision-making process and not front-loading it, not putting more resources into that initial examination of a claim, which could lead to much fairer and much more accurate results.
OK, Keith Best, thank you very much indeed for coming to talk to us. Thank you.